So somebody asked me what the key is to having a good Dungeons and Dragons experience. They asked me this because in the early 80s, I was one of the pioneers of playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I traveled for TSR as a dungeon master. And they had something called a Gen Con, where they would go to the campuses of schools and things like that and have what was the earliest and beginning of what would soon to become a Comic-Con. But at the Gen Con, it was all role-playing. And at some of these schools, they would take the school for the weekend. There would be like 8 classrooms completely dedicated to just role-playing games. The majority of those would be Dungeons and Dragons. And I had created something called Death Fest, which was I allowed you to bring any character you could come up with. You were allowed to bring any magical weapons. You were allowed to do whatever you wanted to and bring that character, as long as it wasn't so ridiculous that it separated your character from all the other characters, meaning if you came up with some ridiculous thing. Using the game's methodology and rules and regulations and statistics, I would allow you to bring any character that you're capable of attaining playing the game, whether you actually got there on your own or you just created the character. Now, the game, of course, is more fun when the people who are there actually have characters that they have been playing for many, many years and have gotten very good with. And because they have a good dungeon master, they understand how the game works and they're not in a hurry. The key behind Dungeons and Dragons is an imagination. If you don't have an imagination, you're not going to enjoy the game. You're going to want to watch a movie, or it's going to make you think about reading or something else. You've got to be able to sit in a room and look at a person who is sitting behind a screen, and that person's going to tell you what you see. And then you need to be able to see that. So the game really does depend on the dungeon master, and that person's imagination is key, because it dictates what the imaginations will be for the rest of the group, or the party, as the game would call it. So my style was always matter of fact, but with a little DJ twist. So that would be, you come out through the clearing, and there is a storm giant wielding a huge axe. The axe is so large that it could cut 2 of you in half at the same time. The room is cold. The air is cold. The trees start blowing. The earth starts hardening. And you realize it's a storm giant. He comes through the clearing. Get out of my forest! And he swings his giant battle axe at you, fighter cleric. That's how it works. Roll that 20. Bam, an 18. The fighter cleric's armor, dexterity allows him to get out of the way. And the giant misses. Now the giant is slow because he's got to pull that axe up, lift it up above his head again. And in that amount of time, that allows the thief to run up and stick him a couple of times in the Achilles tendon. Roll the 20, bam! A 20, add +4, +8, and he does a lot. The giant loses balance and falls to his side. But the giant is so big that when he falls, everyone takes an instant 4 points of damage. That was the way I ran my Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. I usually drew pictures, and we had tons of lead figurines that my friend and I had painted ourselves. As a matter of fact, I was painting the figurines before I'd even heard of the game. My friend Rick, came over, and he saw all my figurines. I made dioramas out of them with my Godzilla toys. And he was like, those go to a game called Dungeons and Dragons. Have you ever played it? And I was like, no. He goes, I think you'd like it. And we played it, and I became hooked immediately. And, and the sense of, that's a Britannica, the British toys. Anyway, thanks for watching, man. I just wanted to tell you how you can have fun with Dungeons and Dragons. I was doing it in the 80s, and it's the same thing today. Imagination.